Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I am so grateful you've joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. The first step is to recognize that your pain, while real, is not your identity. You are not just the product of your suffering. Pain can shape you, yes, but it doesn't have to define you. It's a signal, a message that something is wrong, something that demands your attention. But it's not a verdict. It's not the end of your story. The moment you understand this, you begin to reclaim your power. The pain you feel didn't start with you. It likely began long before you were born, passed down like a curse from one generation to the next. Understanding this isn't about blame, it's about perspective. It's about realizing that those who hurt you were often hurt themselves. They were caught in the same cycle you now find yourself in. But here's the truth that changes everything: cycles can be broken. And they must be broken. Because if you don't, the weight of that pain will fall on the shoulders of those who come after you. Breaking free starts with courage, the courage to confront what you've avoided for so long. It's terrifying to face the ghosts of your past, to stare directly at the pain that has shaped you. But avoidance doesn't make it disappear, it allows it to fester. You must face it head on. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. It's the only way forward. And while you're not responsible for the trauma inflicted upon you, you are responsible for your healing. That's a bitter pill to swallow, isn't it? But it's also a profound truth. Waiting for others to change or for the world to rescue you is a path to stagnation. You must take responsibility for your life, for your growth, for your future. No one else can do it for you. Setting boundaries is a crucial step in this journey. Toxic relationships thrive on blurred lines and unspoken rules. You must learn to say, this is what I will accept, and this is what I will not. It's not selfish, it's survival. And sometimes walking away is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for those who refuse to change. Healing is not a one-time event. It's a process, a series of choices you make every day to live differently, to be different. And in doing so, you not only transform your life, but you also break the chain of pain that could have continued through you. That's no small thing. That's the power of healing, not just for yourself, but for everyone you touch. And finally, you must move from victimhood to agency. Yes, you were hurt. Yes, you were treated unfairly. But you are not powerless. You have the ability to change, to grow, to create something better. You have the strength to stand up and say, the cycle ends with me. That's a terrifying responsibility, but it's also the most liberating realization you'll ever have. Your pain is not permanent. It's a chapter, not the whole book. The cycle of toxic family trauma can end with you. But it requires a choice to confront, to heal, to grow, and to rise above. And in doing so, you don't just change your own life, you change the lives of those who come after you. You become a beacon of hope, a symbol of what's possible. And that, my friends, is a legacy worth fighting for. Pain is an undeniable part of life, and acknowledging it is the first step toward healing. Often we try to avoid or minimize our suffering, pretending it isn't there or dismissing it as unimportant. But ignoring pain doesn't make it go away. It amplifies its hold over us, lurking in the background and shaping our thoughts, actions, and relationships. To acknowledge pain is not to accept defeat, it's to face reality with courage and clarity. It's to say, this is my experience and it matters. Acknowledging pain means allowing yourself to feel the weight of your struggles without judgment. It's giving yourself permission to grieve what was lost, to mourn the unfairness of your circumstances, and to admit the wounds that have shaped you. This is not a sign of weakness, it's a profound act of strength. When you confront your pain honestly, you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that have been overshadowed by it. You make space for healing to occur. It's also essential to understand that acknowledging pain doesn't mean you have to stay in it. Recognizing its presence is not the same as surrendering to its permanence. Instead, it's a declaration that you will no longer deny or suppress what has happened to you. It's a step toward processing, understanding, and ultimately transforming that pain into something that no longer controls you. By facing it, you begin to diminish its power, paving the way for growth and resilience. To break free from toxic cycles, it is essential to understand where they come from and why they persist. Toxicity within families often stems from deep-rooted, intergenerational patterns of pain, dysfunction, and unresolved trauma. It rarely appears out of nowhere. Instead, it is passed down like an invisible inheritance. What one generation doesn't heal often gets transmitted to the next, not as a conscious act of harm, but as a reflection of their own unprocessed wounds. Understanding the roots of toxicity requires compassion and curiosity. It means looking at your family's history not to excuse harmful behavior, but to contextualize it. Why did your parents or their parents before them act in the ways they did? What hardships or traumas shaped their worldviews and emotional patterns? Recognizing this doesn't absolve anyone of accountability, but it helps you see that toxic behaviors are often learned, not innate. Hurt people, and that pain ripples outward until someone decides to stop it. This process also involves recognizing the dynamics that perpetuate toxicity patterns like poor communication, lack of boundaries, emotional neglect, or outright abuse. Toxic behaviors often have a seductive pull because they're familiar. If you grew up in an environment where dysfunction was normalized, you might unconsciously replicate those patterns in your own relationships, even if you despise them. That's the insidious nature of toxicity. It thrives in ignorance and repetition. The goal of understanding these roots is not to dwell on the past or assign blame, but to gain insight. When you uncover the origins of toxic patterns, you empower yourself to break them. You see the cycle for what it is, a chain of pain that can be interrupted. By choosing to address these patterns consciously, you can stop carrying forward what no longer serves you. This understanding is the foundation upon which real, lasting change is built. Self-reflection is a transformative tool that allows you to examine your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with honesty and clarity. It is a powerful act of turning inward to understand yourself more deeply, uncovering the patterns and beliefs that shape your life. In the context of breaking free from toxic family trauma, self-reflection is essential because it helps you recognize how past experiences influence your present reality. Without it, you risk remaining trapped in cycles of pain and dysfunction that feel inescapable. When you engage in self-reflection, you create space to ask important questions. Why do I react the way I do in certain situations? What triggers my emotions? How have my family dynamics shaped my view of the world, of relationships, and of myself? These questions may be difficult to confront, but they hold the key to understanding the forces at work beneath the surface of your life. Self-reflection allows you to identify unhealthy patterns, whether it's people-pleasing, avoiding conflict, or internalizing guilt that have been ingrained in you over time. This process requires brutal honesty and vulnerability. It's not about blaming yourself for what happened or berating yourself for your mistakes. Instead, it's about observing your experiences with compassion and curiosity. Self-reflection shines a light on your inner world, helping you understand not only where you've been, but also where you want to go. It allows you to see the moments when you've unconsciously perpetuated the very patterns you want to escape, giving you the power to choose differently. Through self-reflection, you also begin to recognize your agency. While you cannot change the actions of others or erase the pain of the past, you can control how you respond to those experiences moving forward. You learn to take responsibility for your own growth and healing, reclaiming the parts of yourself that were shaped by toxicity. This is not an easy task. It requires time, effort, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. But the rewards are profound. Self-reflection is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice. It deepens over time, offering new insights as you grow and evolve. By consistently looking inward, you build a stronger sense of self-awareness and emotional resilience. You begin to see yourself not as a victim of circumstances, but as an active participant in your own life, capable of change and transformation. In doing so, you take a significant step toward breaking the cycle of toxic family trauma and creating a healthier, more intentional future. Breaking patterns of toxicity requires more than a desire for change. It demands intentional, focused effort to replace harmful behaviors with healthier ones. Toxic family dynamics often persist because they operate on autopilot, perpetuated by habit, familiarity, and unexamined emotions. To break free, you must disrupt this automatic flow and consciously choose a new path, even when it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Begin by identifying the specific patterns you want to break. Are there recurring conflicts, unspoken resentments, or harmful communication styles? Maybe you notice a tendency to suppress your feelings, avoid confrontation, or seek approval at the expense of your own needs. Whatever the patterns are, name them. Shine a light on them so they lose their invisibility. Once you're aware of these patterns, the next step is to set clear intentions for how you want to act differently. Change doesn't happen by accident. It requires deliberate choices, often in moments when your old habits are screaming at you to take the familiar route. For example, if you're used to lashing out in anger, breaking the pattern might mean pausing to take a deep breath before responding. If you've always avoided conflict, it might mean speaking up for yourself, even if your voice shakes. These small, intentional actions may seem insignificant, but they are powerful because they challenge the status quo. Another crucial aspect of breaking patterns is learning to set boundaries. Toxic dynamics thrive in environments where boundaries are weak or non-existent. You need to define what behaviors you will and will not accept and communicate those boundaries clearly. This isn't about controlling others, it's about taking responsibility for your own well-being. Enforcing boundaries can be difficult, especially if your family is resistant to change, but it's an essential step in breaking free from the cycle. Consistency is key. Breaking patterns is not a one-time effort, it's a practice you must repeat daily. There will be setbacks, moments when you slip back into old habits or feel overwhelmed by the weight of change. That's okay. What matters is that you recognize those moments, forgive yourself, and recommit to your intentions. Progress is rarely linear, but every small step forward counts. It's also helpful to seek support during this process. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth and hold you accountable to your intentions. This could include friends, mentors, therapists, or support groups. Breaking patterns is hard work, but you don't have to do it alone. Having a support system can provide guidance, perspective, and reassurance when the journey feels overwhelming. As you begin to replace old patterns with healthier ones, you'll notice a shift not just in your actions, but in your mindset. You'll feel more empowered, more in control of your life. You'll begin to see that change is possible, even in the face of deeply ingrained toxicity. By breaking patterns with intention, you're not just changing your own life, you're disrupting a cycle that may have persisted for generations. You're creating a new legacy, one built on self-awareness, resilience, and conscious choice. And that is the power of intentional change. Pain, while deeply personal and often overwhelming, holds the potential to become a source of profound transformation and purpose. It may feel impossible to see anything valuable in suffering when you're in the midst of it. Yet pain is not just a force that tears you down, it can also be a force that builds you up. The key lies in your willingness to confront it, process it, and ultimately channel it into something meaningful. Transforming pain into purpose begins with acceptance. This doesn't mean you have to approve of the circumstances that caused your pain or pretend that everything is okay. It means acknowledging your pain without denial or resistance, understanding that it is a part of your story but not the entirety of it. When you stop fighting against the existence of your suffering, you free up energy to explore what it might be teaching you. Pain often serves as a catalyst for self-discovery. It forces you to examine who you are, what you value, and what you're capable of enduring. In this process, you begin to uncover strengths you didn't know you had: resilience, empathy, determination. These qualities, born out of hardship, can become the foundation for a deeper sense of purpose. They equip you to not only heal yourself, but also to offer something valuable to others. One of the most powerful ways to transform pain is to use it as a source of connection and service. When you share your story with others, you help them feel less alone in their struggles. Your experiences, as painful as they may have been, can inspire hope, offer guidance, and remind others that healing is possible. By turning your suffering into a tool for compassion and understanding, you give it meaning beyond yourself. This transformation also involves reframing your pain as an opportunity for growth. Ask yourself, what lessons can I take from this experience? How has it shaped my perspective or my ability to empathize? How can I use what I've learned to create a better life for myself and those around me? These questions shift your focus from what you've lost to what you can gain, fostering a mindset of possibility rather than despair. It's important to remember that transforming pain into purpose doesn't mean you'll no longer feel its sting. Healing is not about erasing pain, but integrating it into your life in a way that empowers you. The scars you carry become a testament to your journey, a reminder of what you've endured and how far you've come. They are not marks of weakness, but symbols of strength. Finding purpose through pain is deeply individual. For some, it may involve pursuing a cause or career that aligns with the insights gained from their struggles. For others, it may mean fostering healthier relationships, creating art, or simply living with greater intention and authenticity. There is no single path. The purpose you find is uniquely yours, shaped by your experiences and aspirations. Ultimately, transforming pain into purpose is about reclaiming your narrative. It's about refusing to let suffering define or diminish you. Instead, you choose to rise, to grow, and to create something meaningful out of what could have broken you. In doing so, you not only heal yourself, but also inspire others to do the same. This act of transformation is one of the most powerful ways to honor your journey and ensure that your pain serves a greater purpose. Accountability is a cornerstone of personal growth and healing, especially when it comes to breaking free from toxic family trauma. While it's true that you may not be responsible for the pain inflicted upon you, you are responsible for how you respond to it and for the choices you make moving forward. This is a difficult but necessary truth, as accountability empowers you to reclaim control over your life rather than remaining trapped in the role of a victim. Taking accountability begins with acknowledging the ways in which past experiences have influenced your behavior, thoughts, and relationships. It's not about blaming yourself for what has happened, but recognizing the impact it has had on you. This requires a level of self-awareness that can be uncomfortable, as it means confronting patterns of avoidance, denial, or destructive behavior that may have become ingrained. However, without this honest reflection, true change is impossible. Accountability also involves recognizing the choices you make in the present. Even when you've been shaped by trauma, you still have the ability to decide how you respond to situations, how you treat others, and how you care for yourself. It's easy to fall into the trap of blaming external circumstances or other people for your current struggles, but doing so relinquishes your power. When you take responsibility for your actions and decisions, you reclaim that power and set the stage for meaningful transformation. This process is not about self-punishment or dwelling on past mistakes. Instead, it's about learning and growth. Accountability requires you to ask hard questions. What role am I playing in perpetuating toxic patterns? Am I avoiding the hard work of setting boundaries or addressing conflicts? Am I neglecting my own healing because it feels too difficult or overwhelming? These questions aren't meant to shame you, but to guide you toward greater clarity and intentionality. Another important aspect of accountability is recognizing when you need help. Healing from toxic family trauma is not something you have to do alone, and being accountable means seeking support when you need it. Whether it's through therapy, support groups, or trusted relationships, reaching out for guidance shows that you are taking your journey seriously. It's an acknowledgement that healing is a collaborative process and that others can offer perspectives and tools that you might not yet have. Holding yourself accountable also means committing to the work of change, even when it's uncomfortable or slow. Healing is not a linear process, and there will be moments of frustration, setbacks, and doubt. But accountability keeps you grounded in your commitment to growth. It reminds you that while you can't control the past, you can control how you show up in the present and what you build for the future. Finally, accountability allows you to shift from a place of helplessness to a place of agency. It's a declaration that you are not defined by the actions of others or by the pain you've endured. Instead, you are actively choosing to shape your life to break cycles of toxicity and to create a healthier, more fulfilling future. This doesn't mean the process will be easy, but it does mean that it will be meaningful, and that the changes you make will ripple outward, influencing not only your life but the lives of those around you. Pain accountability is the bridge between recognizing your pain and transforming it into something greater. It requires courage, honesty, and perseverance, but it is also deeply liberating. By embracing responsibility for your healing and growth, you take the first step toward breaking free from the patterns that have held you back and creating a life that reflects your true values and potential. Moving from victimhood to agency is one of the most transformative shifts you can make when healing from toxic family trauma. It involves stepping out of the passive role of someone who has been hurt and taking on the active role of someone who has the power to shape their own life. This shift doesn't deny the reality of the pain you've endured or the injustices you've faced. Instead, it recognizes that while you may not have been responsible for what happened to you, you are fully capable of choosing how you respond and how you move forward. Victimhood is often a natural and even necessary phase in the aftermath of trauma. It allows you to process what has happened, to grieve, and to make sense of your experiences. However, staying in this phase too long can trap you in a cycle of helplessness, where your identity becomes rooted in what was done to you. This mindset can make it difficult to see possibilities for growth or change, because it focuses solely on external circumstances rather than internal strength and potential. Agency begins when you acknowledge your capacity to act, even in small ways. It's about reclaiming control over your thoughts, emotions, and choices. This doesn't mean dismissing your pain or pretending everything is fine. It means understanding that you have the ability to decide what comes next. It's a realization that while you couldn't control the past, you can influence your present and future. This shift is both empowering and challenging because it requires you to take responsibility for your own healing, even when the wounds were not your fault. A critical aspect of moving into agency is recognizing the power of choice. Every day you have opportunities to choose differently, to respond to triggers with awareness rather than reaction, to establish boundaries that protect your well-being, and to engage in practices that nurture your growth. These choices may seem small, but they are significant because they represent your commitment to yourself. Each intentional act reinforces the idea that you are not at the mercy of your circumstances, but an active participant in shaping your life. Agency also involves rewriting the narrative you tell yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. Trauma often instills limiting beliefs, ideas like "I'm not good enough, I'll never escape this," or "I don't deserve better." These beliefs can become self-fulfilling if left unchallenged. Taking agency means questioning these narratives and replacing them with ones that reflect your resilience, strength, and potential. It's about telling yourself, "I am more than what happened to me. I have the power to heal, to grow, and to create a life I value." This shift requires courage and persistence because it often means stepping into the unknown. Victimhood, while painful, can feel familiar and even safe. Agency, on the other hand, asks you to take risks, to confront your fears, and to embrace responsibility for your actions and decisions. It's a process that involves trial and error, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But it's also a process that leads to empowerment, self-respect, and the ability to live in alignment with your values. Seeking support is an essential part of this journey. Moving from victimhood to agency doesn't mean doing everything alone. In fact, it often requires leaning on others who can provide guidance, encouragement, and accountability. Whether it's through therapy, mentorship, or trusted relationships, surrounding yourself with people who believe in your potential can help you stay committed to your path. Ultimately, the shift from victimhood to agency is about reclaiming your sense of self. It's about recognizing that while you were shaped by your past, you are not defined by it. You have the ability to choose how you respond, what you prioritize, and what kind of person you want to become. This transformation is not just about healing from what was, it's about building something new, something rooted in your strength, purpose, and vision for the future. By stepping into agency, you not only free yourself from the constraints of your past, but also become a beacon of possibility for others seeking to do the same. The journey of breaking free from toxic family trauma is not an easy one, but it is profoundly worth it. It requires courage, self-awareness, and an unshakable commitment to your own growth. The pain you've endured does not define you, and the cycles of dysfunction you've inherited are not your destiny. You have the power to confront your wounds, transform your patterns, and build a life that reflects your true worth. Let this be your turning point, a declaration that the pain of your past will no longer dictate your future. You are not a prisoner of your circumstances, but a creator of possibilities. Every step you take toward healing and growth is an act of defiance against the toxicity that tried to hold you back. Every boundary you set, every healthy choice you make, and every moment of self-compassion is proof of your resilience.